Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to Newstos. So we are going to be talking about a couple of leaked games today. One being a game that we have not heard about since 2014. Yeah, it's been a little while, but out of nowhere, it looks like it might be revealed here soon, so we're going to go over that one today. And then also a classic Capcom game that I know a lot of fans are going to be really excited about. I know I'm personally excited about this one, so we're going to go over both of those today. Then a little bit later on, we're also going to be talking about a PlayStation game that just passed a major milestone. So yeah, we do have a lot to go over, so let's just go and jump right into things, starting off with Disgaea 6. Okay, so Disgaea 6 released last year exclusively for the Nintendo Switch, and for the most part, it was about what you would expect coming from the Disgaea franchise. These are niche games, but they're good strategy RPGs. They have fun gameplay. You can level up your characters to this insane amount of levels. They have humorous stories with quirky but lovable characters, and that was very much what Disgaea 6 was. However, it did launch with some technical issues on the Nintendo Switch. One thing that they did change with Disgaea 6 was that they traded the 2D sprites from previous games for 3D models, and it did seemingly have some problems on the Nintendo Switch there at launch. It was definitely unfortunate, but the good news here is that they just announced Disgaea 6 Complete will be heading over to the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC this summer. It will include all of the DLC that is previously released on the Switch, so this will be the definitive edition of Disgaea 6. Now, we don't have an exact release date just yet, but it is nice to get confirmation that this game will be heading over to some other devices, and maybe it will have some of those issues cleared up once it releases on PlayStation and PC later this year. It might actually be a good game to pick up on the Steam Deck. That does seem like a good fit there, as I've always really liked the Disgaea franchise on handheld devices such as the PlayStation Vita and the Nintendo Switch. Next up, we do have some pretty big news here for you Call of Duty fans out there, as they did just today confirm this year's Call of Duty alongside Warzone 2. Yes, they just confirmed Warzone 2. Over in a pretty lengthy blog post, they did reveal their future plans for the Call of Duty franchise in 2022, and this is what they had to say. This year's Call of Duty is a sequel to Modern Warfare 2019. The new game and new Warzone experience are designed together from the ground up. Expect a massive evolution of Battle Royale with all new play space and a new sandbox mode. A new engine powers both the new Call of Duty game release and Warzone. Development on both the new Call of Duty and the Warzone experience is being led by Infinity Ward. Now, that's actually some really interesting stuff, and we'll kind of first start off with the mainline entry here being Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The Modern Warfare entries have always been really popular within this franchise. That's kind of what got the Call of Duty craze started off in the first place. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare blew up on the Xbox 360 and PS3 back in 2007. I absolutely loved that game when it released, and then Modern Warfare 2 was great. You had Black Ops and all of those games that did really good, but Modern Warfare definitely was a great entry in the Call of Duty franchise. Of course, they brought it back here recently with a reboot back in 2019, and now they're going to follow that up with Modern Warfare 2 with a brand new engine. So we should see a visual overhaul here, and maybe we can see them take a little bit more advantage of these next generation consoles. So that right there is exciting stuff, but of course, we do have to talk about Battle Royale, because Warzone obviously is incredibly popular. This is one of the biggest games in the industry, and here they are confirming that they are working on the next iteration of Warzone alongside Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. They don't explicitly say that they will release together, but considering that they are revealing future plans for 2022, right now that will be the assumption. Now, right now, they're not really giving too many details on what this new Warzone experience will be like. They do say that it will be with an all-new play space and a new sandbox mode, and they also do say that it will be powered on that new engine that Modern Warfare 2 will also be using. Other than that, we're still kind of waiting on a trailer, and these games are still a bit of a mystery, but just getting a simple confirmation for a franchise as big as this, I know that's going to get a lot of fans out there really excited. It's kind of like that GTA 6 confirmation. It just kind of blew up because of how big the franchise is. So for you Call of Duty fans or Battle Royale fans, it does look like you have a lot to look forward to throughout 2022. Let's go and talk about those leaks, though. We do have two different game leaks to talk about today, one being from a game that we haven't really heard much about since 2014, and that'd be for Dead Island 2. Yeah, this was a game that was revealed back in 2014 at E3, and since then, not really much of anything at all. I actually kind of forgot that this game existed, and I think for most people, they probably just assumed that it would have been canceled by this point. But here we are all of these years later, and it's popped up in the news again, thanks to a new leak by Tom Henderson. Now, this since has been partially confirmed. We'll get into that here in just a moment. But this all started off with Tom Henderson claiming that he had spoken to members of the development team who tell him that the game is in a decent state and it could be announced pretty soon with some kind of gameplay trailer. He then goes on to say that it could possibly release in 2022, though keep in mind that currently this right now is a rumor. But that is where this starts to get interesting, because Deep Silver did actually respond over on Games Radar, and they did say, "We have confirmed that the game is in active development and will share more details once we are ready." So that part of the rumor has since been confirmed, that Dead Island 2 is indeed in development. Now, whether or not it gets a reveal trailer sometime soon and releases in 2022, that remains to be seen, but it does seem like that it is very possible. After all of these years, though, I will be curious to see if this game turns out to be good or not. The way this leak was worded was that the game was in a decent state. I'm not sure if I like the word decent. It didn't seem overly confident, so I will be cautious when it comes to Dead Island 2, but there you have it. It might actually be returning in 2022. Now, as for this other leak, this is coming from Fanbyte, which is reporting on the classic Capcom game being Resident Evil 4. Now, I think most of us kind of expected this, and we did actually hear about it last year through a couple of different leaks, but Resident Evil 4 Remake is indeed in development. Not necessarily a big surprise on its own, but we, however, did get some new details on this Resident Evil Remake, including the planned announcement. According to Imran Khan over on Fanbyte, Capcom is planning to announce Resident Evil 4 Remake in early 2022. So unless plans have changed, this announcement could come at any time here in the next couple of months. So I actually had to kind of go back and make sure that I was correct about this, but this does kind of line up with some of the information that we already know. And what I mean by that is that back in 2020, if you remember right, there was a major hack over at Capcom. Unfortunately, somebody did hack into Capcom and then release some of their release plans online, which revealed a lot of the games that they're working on, including a Resident Evil 4 remake that was supposedly being planned to release in late 2022. So this does kind of line up with that. Maybe they could reveal it sometime here soon and start to build up some hype as we start to head into its release. Now, there's no guarantee on its release or anything like that, and obviously a lot of games have been delayed in the last couple years, so you're going to have to kind of take that with a grain of salt. But based off the things that we do know, it does sound like they have some plans for Resident Evil 4 Remake sometime in 2022. There was some other really interesting details revealed in this leak, though. It is being claimed that this game is not a one-to-one experience with the original Resident Evil 4, which I know for some fans out there that's definitely going to draw a lot of concern, which I do completely understand that. This is a beloved game after all, but this is actually being handled by the Resident Evil 2 remake team, which they did a phenomenal job with that game, so I think that's going to be a big vote of confidence for a lot of people right there. The original developer that was working on this was M2, but after some disagreements with Capcom, since then, reportedly the Resident Evil 2 remake team did take over this project, though M2 is acting as a supporting role. The big change that they're making, though, is that reportedly Capcom is looking to shift the tone of Resident Evil 4 to make it into an overall scarier experience. Interestingly enough, they're doing this by taking inspiration by a discarded Resident Evil 4 demo, so they're still technically taking inspiration from source material when it comes to Resident Evil 4. Now, something that they do specifically mention here to make it more spooky is that they're going to adjust the timeline to have a good portion set at night, including the opening scene. So they very much are looking to make this into a scarier game. One other change that they are making, though, is that they're going to be giving supporting characters expanded roles, including Ada Wong. In the original, she did have a short campaign, but it looks like they are going to expand that and just make it into a better overall experience that better intertwines with the overall game. And once again, I actually think that that sounds like an improvement. So even though they are making changes here, in both situations, I like what I'm hearing personally. Of course, though, that's just my opinion. So I'd like to hear your all's opinions as well. Do you like some of the changes that you're hearing, and are you excited about this remake possibly being announced sometime in early 2022? Let me know in the comments below. Let's go and move on over to the final topic of the day, and this is pretty incredible stuff, but Sony has just announced that Horizon Zero Dawn has now officially sold more than 20 million copies worldwide. That is highly impressive considering this is a new IP, and that tells me three different things. One being that Horizon Forbidden West, which releases just 1 week from now on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, that game is going to put up monster numbers. It is going to sell incredibly well. Another thing that this tells me, though, is that these PC ports and complete releases that Sony has been doing as of recent have been having a lot of success. The last update that we got for Horizon Zero Dawn was back in 2019 when it had sold 10 million units, so it has sold an additional 10 million units since then, which shows that it has quite the legs, and with it releasing on the PC as well, that definitely has helped it get to 20 million units sold. This is why PlayStation is committing more and more to releasing their games on PC. They're having success over there. I know that quote-unquote hardcore fans get a little iffy when it comes to the exclusivity, but really this is better for gamers as a whole. It's better for PlayStation because they make more money, and it's also better for PlayStation fans because, well, again, PlayStation makes more money, and the more money they make, the more money they have to make better games going forward. Something to always keep in mind is that these big blockbuster games that Sony makes, they're incredibly expensive to make, so they need the funds, and, well, these PC releases, they definitely help out with that. So always do keep that in mind. The other thing, though, that this tells me, and I've said this before, but this just kind of shows you the trust that fans have in PlayStation Studios. This is a new IP that sold more than 20 million units, which is incredibly impressive. It's very hard to do that for even an established franchise, let alone a new IP. But I think a big part of that is because fans have a lot of trust in PlayStation Studios. PlayStation has done a good job with their single-player experiences, and it has gotten their fans very excited. They trust them to make a good game, and that's why they're willing to buy into it. On top of that, I would also say that Horizon has a world that immediately draws you in with its unique setting. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and with them combining a prehistoric setting with some futuristic cybernetics type stuff, it looks so unique and interesting. It really is just a world that you want to know more about, you want to explore it, and it's pretty easy to see why so many people would jump into this game. And I do 100% expect that we will see something similar here with Horizon Forbidden West. Again, that is going to put up some major numbers, and hopefully it'll turn out to be an even better game. What I'll say about Horizon Zero Dawn is, for me personally, I think it has a great open world that immediately draws you in, as I said before. It also has some fun gameplay. It's not necessarily my favorite story in the world, but I do know a lot of people liked it. But with Forbidden West, especially in the gameplay department, that game looks even better. And yeah, really excited to play this one next week when it releases on the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5. Either way, though, big congrats to Guerrilla Games and Sony on all their success with Horizon Zero Dawn. Let's go moving over to the poll of the day. One trend that we have been seeing over the last couple years is that Square Enix has been releasing more of these HD 2D games. This all started with Octopath Traveler, which sported a gorgeous art style that was similar to Final Fantasy VI, but with more of those HD graphics. It is a very attractive game, and they did have a lot of success with it. And while since then they have announced several other HD 2D games, including Triangle Strategy, Dragon Quest, and now they're also releasing Live Alive with those HD 2D graphics. It seems like they're really onto something here, so I wanted to ask you all, what game would you most like to see get the Square Enix HD 2D treatment next? And if you take a look here, you can see that 51% of you all voted for Chrono Trigger, 23% of you voted for Final Fantasy VI, 14% of you voted for Final Fantasy Tactics, and then 5% of you voted for Trials of Mana. Now, 7% of you all also voted for Other, and looking through the comments, it did seem like several of you all also would like to see Parasite Eve come back as well. That one would be a really interesting one now that I think about it. But this is a trend that I have really enjoyed over the last couple years. These HD 2D games, they do look really good, and because the gameplay for these games have aged so well, it just seems so natural. As for Chrono Trigger winning this one, I was kind of expecting that one. It was either going to come down to that or Final Fantasy VI, as a lot of times these two games are listed as the greatest JRPGs ever made. A little surprised we haven't seen an HD 2D game for either one of these just yet, but maybe we will get those sometime in the future. At the same time, though, I will go ahead and say about Final Fantasy VI, I'm actually kind of hoping we can get a complete remake on the scale of something like Final Fantasy VII Remake. I really feel like that they could evolve the story of Final Fantasy VI with a full-blown remake, but that's just my opinion. Nonetheless, though, definitely do want to see more of these HD 2D games. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget the bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.